Hello Virgo friends, this is Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Virgo October 2022 Astrology Horoscope. This is for you if Virgo is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other placement of Virgo that you dare to watch for if you go very deep into your chart. And if you're a very late degree Virgo placement, so we'll say like September 15th through the rest of the sign, or around 23 degrees or so through the rest of the sign, then I also suggest you additionally watch my Libra report. You late degree friends will benefit from both of those readings. The theme of this month is permission granted from the universe. Virgo, you can do these things now. So I'm very excited to tell you why I chose this for you and to get into the many details that make this a very power-packed month, maybe one of the most intense of the whole year. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick overview over the important things, and we'll go deeper into most of these in the chart. The first thing to know is that we do have more salty compared to sweet aspects this month, which means simply this: road bumps. The retrogrades also can contribute to this, so you'll be flowing along and then bump. So this is where your power of perception, or power of perspective rather, can make a big difference. If you are in a hurry trying to get something done and you get to the road bump and you are mad, you're going to have a very frustrating month. But if you look at it like wee, where you're basically rolling over those hills and those bumps and slowing down and going with the flow, then you could be super happy. And this is why I tell you this beforehand, so that when the energy is present, then you can remember this and make a choice to have a different experience. I want you to have the best experience possible, and that is the reason why I do this work. So we are in a half and half month. Mercury retrograde is present until October 2nd, and that post-transit shadow period gets less and less as the month goes on and is clear by October 17th. And we've got Mars deepening in its retrograde effects. Mars goes retrograde October 30th through January 18th, but that shadow period beforehand started September 4th and goes all the way to March 15th. So we've got a long road here, and we're going to talk more about that. Jupiter's still retrograde until November 23rd. We have a full moon in Aries. And of course, it's bam, eclipse time, major changes, major trajectory shifts. And this is hopefully very favorable for Virgo because these are in earth and water signs, which are in nice complement for you. Okay, and then we've got the last Uranus Saturn square. October 1st through 12th is when that will be strongest, and so we'll go into more of the details about these, but I just wanted to let you know why this is going to be such an intense month and the types of things we're going to cover right in this report. Okay, so first I want to talk about why the universe is granting you permission to do certain things, and then we'll get to my list of what you are granted permission to do that you might not otherwise be inclined to do. So let's just do a little overview of what the stars are doing, okay? So we talked about Mars retrograde. Mars is retrograde. Mars rules ambitions, drive, energy levels, yours and other people's. So anyone who you're working with or expecting work from might get more lazy. So that's a very important thing to know. However, getting more lazy is actually on your list of permission being granted. Okay? Of course, this is within reason. If you've got things you really have to do or people or things that need your care, obviously you have to, and I'm sure you would show up for those things. But this Mars retrograde, for that very long period of time, October 30th through January 18th is the strongest, but that shadow period really starts at the beginning of September and goes to mid-March. So for this time, very, very driven Virgos, ones who are very intent upon service and helping other people or whatever you're doing, busy with work or other pursuits, you do actually have permission to take your foot off the gas and take a break. And it's a time really to enjoy the fruits of your labor. Okay, so for past labors that you've made, you've got your fruits, and now you can enjoy them, and you have license to do that. And the reason I'm using those words is because some people are more driven than others. Virgos tend to be really hard workers. I'm a hard worker as well because of all the ways that I'm wired. And I've learned for myself that Mars retrograde can actually be one of my favorite times because we get a break from ourselves. And since I know, it took me a while to figure this out, Since I know that the things I try to do during Mars retrograde are only going to be frustrating and may or may not work out anyway, likely not, I just sort of don't try unless something is flowing and just synchronistically shows up and I let it, or rolls in on the tides, the retrograde's tides to me, which you can also see happen. Then I'm not going to force anything. Okay, so this is time to not force anything. And so I've learned that we can get a break. And then that means we can even have more fervor and more direction, more clarity when this goes direct. And spring or fall for you all down under in 2023 is going to be a very, very major time of launches, new births, new beginnings, and pushing things out in the world. But you'll have a nice break here and you have license to do that. Now, this is making an awkward angle for Virgos, which means that the whole transit is putting a bit of pressure on you. You're no stranger to pressure, and you don't have to fear the pressure. It just means that there's something going on likely in your work, your job, your employment, with a father figure, with your role as a caretaker, with your role as, an employee or a business owner, or a passion project that you're pursuing, even if you're retired and you don't need money and you're trying to make something happen, your place out in the world. There's a little pressure there. So now the universe is giving you permission to question your job, to research options, and be unsure. Okay, so we've got this coming from a lot of different fronts. We still have the Mercury retrograde energies, and some of this time is actually retrograding your sign. So, being unsure about yourself, being unsure about what you're doing, being unsure of how people see you, of what you want to do with your life and your time and your vocation. The universe is giving you permission to be unsure. And it's important to know that, because then you won't beat yourself up about being unsure, and you won't beat yourself up about, hopefully, that's my goal, of just not knowing and just having some peace and saying, this is what's supposed to be going on right now. I always like to say, this is what's slated for me to experience right now. And then you can have peace with it. Okay, so something else that's very important is that you're getting permission from the universe to take care of yourself. Not that you need that, but some Virgos do need it, because they're always taking care of other people or lost in thought. And this taking care of yourself, and included in there, spending money on your health. All right, so this first house being aspected by the Mercury retrograde and then the Mercury direct, plus this energy of Jupiter retrograde in the 8th house making a little bit of a pressured angle here for Virgo as well. It's really saying it's okay to step back from the things that you're not sure of again and really see what you need. And if that includes spending some money, which your 2nd house is highlighted here, on your wellness, of course, again, within reason, what you can afford. We don't want to create any, financial problems for you. But Virgos in general, if they spend money, it's for somebody else, or the basics, or, what's necessary. And so the universe is really, with the way the placements are for you now, is giving you permission to say, hey, I need that meditation app, or hey, I need that massage, or I need that practitioner or nutritional counselor, or whatever it is that you need about your own health and about your own path, or about your education for another vocation, or whatever it is that you need, you can do it. Because you've got Saturn here in your house of health, and this is really a long-term story of saying, hey, how can we get the pressure off? How can you experience stress differently? Stress can actually be a good thing, and it is a necessary thing, and all humans have it. But how can you interface with stress in a way that your body handles it better? So something to look into are adaptogens. Now, I'm very, very careful to tell you, I'm not a doctor in this lifetime, okay? Probably in previous lifetimes I was. But adaptogens are, I think I'm spelling that right, are herbs or other supplements that can help your body to process stress more efficiently. So again, I'm not suggesting that you go willy-nilly into this. You probably, everyone has their own individual health profile, and it's best to do your own research, trust your intuition, and see someone who can help you with this. An alternative doctor, or maybe your medical doctor will understand something about this. But adaptogens are things that help you to process stress more with grace and ease. And I will promise you, this is something I've done a lot of personal study about. Your bodies support with handling stress in your body can actually change how you experience tough transits. So if you feel like you're getting shellacked by the universe, where you're like, oh no, not again, oh no, not again, what next? That is a surefire sign that your body, your adrenals might need some support, or something in your nervous system needs some help. And the more you give your body what it needs, the more it can more gracefully interface with the stresses that are natural and always coming, that you can be like, okay, no biggie, and move through them better. Okay, so you've got this permission to spend money on your health. Go to your qualified practitioners, do your research, ask your questions, and get that situated. Along these lines is also the permission to say no. All of the Virgo people that I know have pretty much said yes to anything I've ever asked. Now, while I might only ask for reasonable things, so maybe that's not a good example, I know in general that they really want to serve. They want people with Virgo placements, and I have a lot of those people around me, want to feel useful, want to feel like they're helping other people. And the universe is telling you now it's okay to say no sometimes. It might actually be better for you. And I'm pointing here at this 6th house of this Saturn, because Saturn is the setting of boundaries. And there are other places here where this is coming up. And by the way, if you're listening in the podcast version of this, which it is available, the syndicated podcast that I post on YouTube, of the videos I post on YouTube, are actually available through every major, podcast platform. So, and if you are watching the video and you want to only listen to the audio, you can seek out the podcast. But in any case, if you want the visuals and you're listening to the podcast, you can look on YouTube and everything is there. Okay, so what else do we have permission for? We've got the permission to say no. I've got a little heck, or whatever you want to say, no here. And then we've got permission to require more from others. All right, this is a long transit that is occurring of you setting boundaries, you requiring more from others. Virgos do have a way of letting other people sometimes get away with some things. I'm not saying that you put up with a bunch of crap in general, but I am saying that because of your tendency to see others in a positive light, yes, even with the Virgo criticalness, if it's somebody close to you, a lot of times you might let them get away with something more and not realize how much you're either being taken advantage of, or that you just need to set a gentle boundary, because people learn how to treat us with how we teach them to treat us. So this might be a time to actually require more from others. Now, it is important to note that Mars retrograde can bring up anger and frustration. And I'm definitely not suggesting that you get mad and yell at someone or blow up or let someone have it. I'm suggesting that you look within yourself to see that you can gently and lovingly set boundaries, and that you are likely to see more from others when you require more from others, especially if you can do that in a compassionate way. All right, so let's talk about some of this other stuff here. The Mercury retrograde half and half thing means that for the first half of the month, things might be a little more murky. Your contracts, your agreements, your plans. It's, when Mercury is retrograde in the shadow period, you can only see a couple of steps ahead of you on the path. But as the month goes on, probably more of those steps will be revealed to you, and you'll have a little bit more clarity about projects, and your scheduling of doing necessary things might be a little bit easier. So even though we're still within Jupiter retrograde until November 23rd, and Mars has that long retrograde, as far as planning things, scheduling things, once we're clear from Mercury in that second half, this is going to be a lot easier for trying to get some things scheduled and done. And if it's not working out, choose to not be frustrated, right, with those bumps, and just don't force things. So says Mars. This is a time, as I was alluding to before, I want to go deeper into this, for you to be on the beach. Retrogrades are a time when the tides are coming in. So you hanging out on the beach, give you a sun hat, to wait and see what the tides bring you. Okay, maybe they'll bring some garbage, maybe they'll bring some money or something fun, a pretty shell. But whatever it is, it's a time where you're the spider and you've woven your web, and you kind of just hang out and wait for the food to come to you instead of going out and try trying to make it come. Optimism and return to flow from things that had started prior to the end of July might start to come back around in November when Jupiter goes direct. So things within your finances, loans, debt, shared money, inheritances, anything like that might have stalled out when Jupiter went retrograde in July. At the end of October, we start getting into the beginning of November, you might start to see those things open up again because Jupiter will start to wake up. Now, let's talk about these eclipses. Bam, big deal. October 25th, 2-degree Scorpio solar eclipse. November 8th, 16-degree Taurus lunar eclipse. We will be feeling the potentials of both of those in the month of October, okay? Because eclipse season means we can really feel the news, the energy, the potentials manifesting of eclipses 4 to 6 weeks before the first eclipse. So that's 4 to 6 weeks before October 25th. So we're in September and these things can really start showing up. And the more we are in the heat of eclipse season, which is October and November, the more you're likely to see them. Okay, so drama, non-negotiable endings, things out of your control, or things manifesting that you've been trying to work on for a long time. And I'm hoping that you've got a lot of that here because this is a nice angle for your Virgo placement. So let's erase all of my beautiful artwork here, and you with your sun hat, you as the spider. We'll get all this out of here and let's take a look at these eclipses. So first, it's important to note that this eclipse cycle, we're about midway through. End of 2021 to end of 2023 is when this is happening. Of course, we are going to be at the end of 2022. So we're midway through a cycle that is in process that has to do with other people's stuff and money versus your stuff and money, your sustainability versus your shared resources, your logical, practical path, and your emotional relationships, your things, and the people in your life and your relationships with them. So there's a grand shuffling going on with this eclipse cycle, things being taken from, one pot and put in the other and then shuffled back into the other pot. So these resources are really showing up big time. So with the solar eclipse in the Scorpio energy, money could come in through other people. This also includes lotto winnings. I'm definitely not suggesting anyone have gambling as a habit because it can be very detrimental, and I definitely want to caution people on that. But buying a little lotto ticket here and there when you're feeling drawn to it, if you've got the money to do it, wouldn't hurt with an eclipse like this because money can come from anywhere. Literally, when I've had strong Scorpio aspects, I've found money on the ground. I found a $20 bill on a walk one time. I won things that I had sweepstakes, things like that can happen. And things from your spouse, things from your family, government support, loans, capital, tax relief, student loans, all that kind of stuff. So look for that energy to be lit up for you. And if you need something in those arenas, now could be a very positive time to get that help. So I'm going to start to refer you to some other resources, then we'll get back to the chart here. I am a prolific expresser on all topics: self-development, self-awareness, conscious evolution, and astrology. And I want to take the time to refer you also to some other resources that I've created on the topics of the things we're discussing, because I can't do any of these things proper justice in this summary of all of them, okay? So look for Annie Botticelli Mars retrograde, Annie Botticelli Mercury retrograde. You'll find YouTube videos, you'll find blogs. I also have a great blog called Maximizing Retrograde Transits that will show you ways that you can use this very long retrograde period that we have. These are also on the astrology playlist on my YouTube channel, which you can search for Annie Botticelli YouTube, or you can go directly to my channel with AnnieHelpsYouTV.com. Look for the eclipse playlist and watch eclipses in Scorpio. This will be true for all Virgos. Eclipses in Taurus, this will be true for all Virgos because that Taurus eclipse in November will be affecting now. Now, additionally, I suggest that you watch eclipses in Gemini and eclipses in Taurus, okay? And I'm going to tell you why. Because this energy is happening in the Virgo third house, Okay, so the Scorpio eclipse happening in the third house, the Taurus eclipse, we'll get to that in the November report, but the third house is the house ruled by Gemini, and it has to do with your communication, your transportation, the tools that you use for those things, writing projects, your relatives. Most of our relatives are in that sector. So those things are going to be highlighted, and in those reports, I go through all the ways I've seen eclipses in those areas show up. Okay, so that will be helpful to you. Now, the reason why I'm also suggesting you watch eclipses in Taurus, or the second house, which is the same energy, is because this is a 2-degree eclipse, which means it's super early, which means that everyone, including the early degree friends, early, middle, and late degree Virgos, can see those potentials in the Placidus chart shift back into the second house. So watching the eclipses in Taurus, or second house, will, and again, this is on the eclipse playlist, or you can search for them organically. You're more likely to find them on my homepage. But that will help you understand the implications. Now, one of the very exciting things that I talked about was the fact that these eclipses are in a nice angle for you. All right, so 2 degrees of Scorpio makes a 60-degree angle with Virgo placements, especially the early degree Virgo placements. So if you are like one of my BFFs, a person whose birthday is like around the 23rd of August, okay, that's her birthday, my little angel fairy pal friend, any birthdays close to that, but really all the August born Virgos, or anything close, we'll say up through 7 degrees, the closer to 2 degrees, you are more likely to get a kiss from this eclipse, okay? Now, the rest of you, don't worry, you're not being left out of this, but this is extra special for you. And I will give you a sneak peek. I'll talk about this in the November report too, but the Taurus eclipse, which makes a trine for your Virgo placement, is actually going to be at 16 degrees. So that means 11 through 21 degrees, which is pretty much September 1st through 11th or so, the closer to like the 6th or 7th, the more you get the kiss. So a lot of the Virgos are going to get, pretty much most of the Virgos are going to get a chance for special kisses from one of these eclipses. So that's very exciting. Okay, so the next and the last thing that we're going to talk about is this last Saturn-Uranus square. Let's put it in perspective here. 2021, we had 3 clashes in February, June, and December. No, you can't read that, but I just said it so you know what it is. Of this very powerful outer planet transit. Outer planets are the ones that take longer to go around. So when they connect, we really feel that, and it echoes out in planetary themes. Okay, so we're going to have the last pass of this, especially tight, or in connection, October 1st through 12th, but you will start to feel it in September, and it will linger into November. So what are the implications here? Let's look at it on the chart. The implications are Saturn, the taskmaster, the disciplinarian, representing the old systems, not only for the world, but also for you. Your systems that you use as your structure, as your organization, are under scrutiny to see what is stodgy, where you're being stubborn, where you're being resistant to change that could be positive for you. Okay, so we've got Saturn here making this annoying angle with Uranus. It's a square. See, it's 3 signs away. Taurus to Aries, Aries to Pisces, Pisces to Aquarius is 3 signs, 30 degrees in each sign is a 90-degree angle. And that is a square. That is a pressure point. But again, when I say these pressure points, I want to make sure that your system does not go into overload mode, saying, oh no, stress, pressure, uh-oh. Because sometimes it's the stress and pressure we need to crack out of a matrix, and it is, you know, a final straw of something where we have to set a boundary. And so these layers of the things you have permission to do are factored into all of these transit that increases the odds that maybe a surprise thing will come, or you will suddenly stand up for yourself. Now, the action of Saturn is working on Uranus as well, not just Uranus, the energy of jostling, of change, of shock, of, you know, radical ideas, of futuristic thinking, is working on the old stodgy systems, but Saturn is also working on Uranus, which means that any of these new things for you in your life or for the world, whether it's politics or whether it's community or whether it's you, new ideas are now jostling the old systems. And that could be a very positive thing. But at the same time, Uranus is very unstable and chaotic. And so it on its own could bring those energies, but it's getting put through the lens of stern Saturn saying, okay, we see we have to change, but how can we make that sustainable? How can we make that actually work, where a big idea gets translated into something, the steps that are taken to make it happen? So you're going through this review process within yourself, where new ideas are coming, new ways of doing things, new therapies, new, if we're talking about the health stuff. And you're doing your research, which Virgos are great at, and your due diligence in order to figure out which of these new possibilities are going to work. And that can help you to crack out of the matrix and to be freer and happier. This can show up in any area of life, and there's a special energy in this health house, again, because Saturn was there. We were talking about that before. And also your 9th house. This might require some education for doing what you want to do. This might require a different belief system or a different way of seeing things. This might require some travel or perspective or an adventure to get you, out of your hobbit hole. So hopefully any tension that comes from this will be immediately replaced with the freedom, the liberation that comes from cracking out of the pattern limitation that's been holding you back. If you resonate with how I teach and you want to learn astrology, I have so many different ways that you can do that. I've got a ton of free things, which you can see my blogs at anniehelpsyou.com. You can see my blogs at cozybysweetstarlight.com. You can watch my YouTube horoscopes and other astrology videos at anniehelpsyouTV.com, also syndicated on my Astro Kisses podcast. The anniehelpsyouTV.com is my YouTube channel. If you would like to have some wellness and creating financial abundance free courses, go to lumelife.com, L-U-M-E, life.com. There I also have 2 of my most comprehensive astrology courses, including Astrology Basics and Beyond, and my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course. If you want to do astrology as all or part of your profession, I can teach you how. And even if you don't want to do it professionally, this course, which has at least 100 modules in it, it's super comprehensive and growing. You can learn how to help yourself and your family and your friends. And if you want to do it a little bit more low-key for my little, very low subscription exclusive content portal access, you can have even more learning how to do it yourself, read your natal chart, access to a natal chart, and plus extra and sometimes early content at AnnieBAstrology.com. Also, check out my books. Books are not very expensive. They're available through Kindle as well, and one of them is available through Audible. You can check out Radical Prayer, Transform Your Life and the World in 28 Days. It's a beautiful book. I've heard a lot of people carry it around in their purses. It's got affirmations and just other ways to stay connected to spirit. And Planetology, how to align with the natural rhythms of the universe. This is a gorgeous, very long, comprehensive textbook that has simple sections that you can follow and go back to over and over again to help you align with the natural rhythms of the universe. You will find this book on the shelf at all the major booksellers in the Mind, Body, Spirit section. And you can find both of these online and through any other venue. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.